Hello, you're kicking off the Thursday's edition of QPVN English News Bulletin. You're with me, Linh Chi, and I come to headlines. View on People's Air Defense revealed. Strengthening Vietnam-Reup partnership. Workshop Vietnamese language and culture integration and development held. On October 30th, the 8th session of the 15th National Assembly, chaired by National Assembly Chairman Chen Thanh-Mẫn, reviewed the bill on the People's Air Defense. Attending the event was President Lương Cường, Defense Minister Phan Văn Giang, ripped key aspects of the bill. The National Assembly Committee for National Defense and Security reported that during the 7th session, 79 National Assembly deputies gave feedback on the bill on the People's Air Defense. The drafting and review committees have worked closely to incorporate representative suggestions, amending the draft for final review and approval at the 8th session. The chairman of the National Assembly Committee for National Defense and Security highlighted new provisions regarding the personnel for carrying out the People's Air Defense duties, the registration, operation, and licensing of unmanned and ultralight unmanned aircraft. The draft also introduces rules on rewards, compensation, and the restoration of honor for individuals whose health or lives are impeded during carrying out the People's Air Defense duties, ensuring consistency with the legal framework. The deputies then discussed and resolved aspects of the bill on People's Air Defense, noting that the revised bill now includes 8 chapters and 55 articles, reflecting the party's strategy of establishing a robust national defense and meeting new security demands. To ensure the comprehensive and coordinated People's Air Defense, the bill now classifies the People's Air Defense forces into 2 criteria, namely core forces consisting of local military units, militia and reserves, and supporting forces including mobilized and volunteer forces. For unmanned and other special aircraft, the draft specifies that the Ministry of National Defense is responsible for issuing flight permits with the authority delegated as necessary. Additionally, the Ministry of Public Security can authorize flights for its or equipment, notifying the Ministry of National Defense for airspace management. Addressing the session, Defense Minister General Phan Văn Giang thanked the representatives for their contribution and addressed several issues, including policies for the People's Air Defense personnel, corporate responsibility in defense efforts, budget for defense fortifications, and license for unmanned and ultralight unmanned aircraft. He assured that the drafting committee could incorporate the representatives' insights to complete a high-quality practical People's Air Defense law for the National Assembly's final approval at the 8th session. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính met with host Crown Prince and Prime Minister Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdulaziz also in Riyadh on October 29 local time as part of his visit to attend the 8th Future Investment Initiative Summit and working trip to Saudi Arabia. The two leaders agreed to strengthen exchanges at all levels, particularly high-level meetings in both bilateral and multilateral forums, pledged to prioritize the economic cooperation as a key pillar in the bilateral relationship, aiming to position Saudi Arabia as the top investor in Vietnam and increase bilateral trade to over $10 billion by 2030. The Vietnamese Prime Minister called on Saudi Arabia to invest in strategic, iconic, and breakthrough projects in Vietnam, consider building a transit and storage center for crude oil and petrochemical products in Vietnam for export to markets in the Southeast Asian region, and exploit the potential for developing Vietnam's highlight industry. He also proposed connecting innovation centers of the two countries, cooperating in building an innovation ecosystem in Vietnam, and sharing experience in building an international financial hub in Ho Chi Minh City. The Saudi Arabian leader agreed with Chính proposals, suggesting that both sides direct ministries and status to continue discussions to concretize cooperation proposals and optimize bilateral cooperation potential. On this occasion, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính held meetings with his Egyptian and Pakistani counterparts. During his meeting with Egyptian Prime Minister Matboli, Prime Minister Ching praised Egypt's role and influence in the region and at multilateral forums, encouraging a robust and comprehensive growth in the bilateral relations to elevate the partnership to new heights. He conveyed greetings and invitations from General Secretary Tô Lâm, President Lương Cường and National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn to President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and Prime Minister Matboli for a visit to Vietnam. Prime Minister Matboli affirmed Egypt's commitment to its traditional relations with Vietnam and expressed desire to strengthen cooperation, especially at multilateral forums, and act as a bridge for partnerships between ASEAN and Arab nations. In his meeting with Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, Prime Minister Ching highlighted the importance of deepening ties with Pakistan, particularly in trade, tourism, and people-to-people exchanges. He proposed more business, investment, and tourism forums to foster mutual understanding and drive meaningful partnership. Prime Minister Sharif agreed on the need to maximize opportunities and new leadership visions, proposing an ambitious goal of $10 billion in bilateral trade between Vietnam and Pakistan in the near future. In Hanoi on October 30th, Senior Lieutenant General Trịnh Văn Quyết, Chairman of the General Political Department of the Vietnam People's Army, chaired a conference to give opinions on the documentary film Firmly Forging Ahead Under the Communist Party Vietnam Flag, produced by the People's Army Cinema. Attending the conference was Lieutenant General Trương Thiên Tô, Vice Chairman of the General Political Department. The film, produced and promoted in commemoration of the 30th anniversary of the Foundation Day of the General Political Department of the Vietnam People's Army, affirms the Vietnam People's Army's growth closely linked to the party and political work, especially the role of the General Political Department of the Vietnam People's Army. The film highlights the achievements and milestones of the General Political Department of the Vietnam People's Army during the 80-year journey of development, fighting, and growing, affirming the direct and absolute leadership of the Communist Party of Vietnam in aerospace towards the military. The head of the General Political Department emphasized that there is not much time left to complete the work. The production unit needs to urgently consider the delegates' opinions to make timely edits so that the film can be released on schedule. The People's Army Cinema was asked to continue reviewing the content of the film, in which the position and role of the General Political Department with 80 glorious years accompanying the growth and maturity of the military and the country must be highlighted, contributing to effectively popularizing the traditional patriotism, revolutionary heroism, and national pride among the people. During a working visit to China on October 31st, Senior Lieutenant General Hoàng Xuân Chiến, Deputy Defense Minister of Vietnam, led a high-ranking delegation to meet Lieutenant General Jia Jianxiang, General Commander and Chief of the Staff of the Chinese People's Liberation Army Southern Theater Command. Senior Lieutenant General Hoàng Xuân Chiến emphasized that this visit by the high-ranking delegation of the Ministry of National Defense is significant for the 80th anniversary of the Vietnam People's Army. The delegation includes key leaders for military branches that closely collaborate with China, particularly those in border areas near Guangxi province. This visit fosters exchanges, strengthens political trust, and deepens the friendship between the two nations and their armed forces. The delegation visited several historical sites associated with the Vietnam Revolution in Guangxi and Guangdong provinces, expressed deep appreciation for the meticulous care and preservation shown by their Chinese counterparts towards these significant landmarks. General Hoàng Xuân Chiến highlighted that during Senior Lieutenant General Jiang Youxi's recent visit to Vietnam, both sides signed a border defense cooperation agreement and a memorandum of understanding to enhance collaboration between two ministries of defense. This includes specific initiatives related to the Southern Theater Command and cooperation with Vietnam's Military Region 1, 2, and 3. In response to General Chien's remarks, Lieutenant General Jia Jianxiang noted that the defense relationship between China and Vietnam has become a crucial pillar, continuously expanding and deepening. The close collaboration between the Southern Theater Command of the People's Liberation Army and the Vietnamese Navy and Border Guard has strengthened political trust and catalyzed effective cooperative initiatives between both militaries. Both sides agreed to enhance cooperation in areas such as training, joint activities, maritime exchanges, and engagements between young officers of the two sides. General Hoàng Xuân Chiến expressed confidence that they could work actively to develop military relations, aligning with the senior leadership's vision for a more substantive defense and security partnership. Earlier, the delegation visited Brigade No. 4 of the PLA Southern Theater Command. Coming up next, Vietnam and Japan seek cooperation in developing human resources in semiconductor industry. Workshop Vietnamese language and culture integration and development held. On October the 29th and the 30th, the Consulate General of Vietnam in Fukuoka, in collaboration with the Institute of Comprehensive Science and Kyushu University, organized a symposium on semiconductors, innovation, and human resources development. The event is part of a series of activities aimed at implementing the strategy for developing Vietnam's semiconductor industry to 2030 with a vision to 2050, issued by Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính. Innovation, a key factor to promote the strong development of the semiconductor industry in Vietnam, is expected to upraise Vietnam's international competitiveness. Having led the world in the semiconductor manufacturing industry in the 1980s and 1990s, Japan has now been experienced in this field and is willing to share knowledge and techniques with Vietnam. Therefore, the cooperation between Vietnam and Japan in this field will open up directions for the strong development of Vietnam's semiconductor industry in the coming time. Japan is currently paying special attention to the strategy of developing human resources in the semiconductor industry. The country is seeking cooperation with other countries in the region, especially Vietnam, in realizing this strategy. Hopefully, we will play a role in this process. Japan is aiming for semiconductors for the new generation. We find that cooperation with Vietnam plays an important role in developing the semiconductor industry, which starts with human resource training. At the event, the delegates also discussed solutions to promote the transfer of technology and knowledge in the semiconductor industry from Japan to Vietnam and boost cooperation in training Vietnamese students and experts in Japan. The delegates also proposed measures to implement long-term cooperation plans in this field. On October the 30th, Hanoi University partnered with the National University of Laos to host an international workshop titled The Vietnamese Language and Culture, Integration and Development. This engaging event brought together a diverse group of researchers, lecturers, and students, fostering a rich forum for discussing the significance of the Vietnamese language and culture in the era of globalization. Innovation, a key factor to promote the strong development of the semiconductor industry in Vietnam, is expected to upraise Vietnam's international competitiveness. Having led the world in the semiconductor manufacturing industry in the 1980s and 1990s, Japan has now been experienced in this field and is willing to share knowledge and techniques with Vietnam. Therefore, the cooperation between Vietnam and Japan in this field will open up directions for the strong development of Vietnam's semiconductor industry in the coming term. Japan is currently paying special attention to the strategy of developing human resources in the semiconductor industry. The country is seeking cooperation with other countries in the region, especially Vietnam, in realizing this strategy. Hopefully, we will play a role in this process. Japan is aiming for semiconductors for the new generation. We find that cooperation with Vietnam plays an important role in developing the semiconductor industry, which starts with human resource training. At the event, the delegates also discussed solutions to promote the transfer of technology and knowledge in the semiconductor industry from Japan to Vietnam and boost cooperation in training Vietnamese students and experts in Japan. The delegates also proposed measures to implement long-term cooperation plans in this field.
I choose Vietnamese because, as you can see, I'm very familiar to this culture. Both of my parents are from here, and I wanted to learn more about this country. I wanted to be closer to my relatives, and also I think I would like to make new friends from here. Maybe in the future I will be able to stay here for a longer time.
So I think Vietnamese is really unique language, and the culture is really captivating, and the people are really friendly and welcoming. I also really like the food. I think it's really refreshing and I feel healthy.
Do you like it?
I really like it.
Chúng tôi yêu tiếng Việt, chúng tôi yêu Việt Nam.
It is the end of the English News Bulletin today. You will watch our news again at QPVN.vn. For the goodbye and see you next time.